Welcome back to the Spiritual Uplevel Podcast. I'm your host, Jeri Cristine, and today I am so happy and just excited to have with me Sam Nieman and Kaleb Duncan, who are the founders of Manifest Omaha. So, you guys have done something that I think probably a lot of networkers have thought about doing, which is creating a safe space for business people who also have a spiritual side to themselves, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
So tell the audience, what is Manifest Omaha?
Yeah, so Manifest Omaha is an idea to change the way networking goes here in Omaha. Sam and I had been to a lot of different networking groups in town, gotten a lot of great things, great benefits and friendships and stuff, but they always seem to lack some like in-depth conversation around us growing as people, the cool spirituality topics that I like to talk about, and lots of different things like that. So we wanted to create a space where people could come together and explore different deep topics, things that are esoteric, things that are taboo. What's the convergence of spirituality, religion, consciousness, and everything else. Sam and I met a little over a year ago back in July and kind of came up with this idea together. So that's what I wanted to bring. And for a couple of years, Sam, we ended up meeting. She had the same idea, and then ended up launching it in January. But yeah, what did?
And it's been successful.
Yeah.
Well, do you have something to add to that?
No, I just felt like whenever we would, the way we would bond together or like hang out would be, hey, let's go to this networking event and let's go, you meet my people, I meet your people. But it always felt like I was masking. I didn't quite fit into center sphere or, that just wasn't my ball game. It just didn't feel right. Like I like to hang out with those folks, afterwards. That was fun. And like the real connections always started, outside of that. Like, yes, I met them there, but everybody would just walk up to you, here's my business card, and they want to sell me something immediately. Yeah. And I just don't like that. And it felt very exhausting to go to.
Yeah, so. I can totally relate. I did so much networking in the past 20 years because of real estate. And it became draining. Like in the beginning, I think it was fun because I was so business focused. And then as I started to grow spiritually, I was like, this is so surface. And like you said, Kaleb, I want to sit under the stars and talk forever about the meaning of the universe, right?
Yeah.
100%.
So tell me about you two. Like, how did you come into this spiritual world? And then, how did you meet and know that this was what you were supposed to do?
Yeah, you want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay. So I have always been fascinated with space and science and quantum mechanics and all the different stuff like that. Since like fifth grade, I would go home, I would hurry home and watch YouTube videos. If I wasn't playing Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2 and World at War back in the day, I was watching YouTube videos from the World Science Festival about black holes and about what's the leading, when I found out about quantum mechanics, which seems like a big, lofty, kind of scary word at times, but really it just means that everything's all interconnected. Mm-hmm. And there's a science and an energy that's happening, fluctuating between all points in space-time, between you and me and the whole universe, and it's all interconnected in a beautiful way. And it's kind of woo-woo, or it's kind of like science that hasn't been fully realized by us here on Earth yet. So I was always so interested with that, and I wanted my friends to be interested with it. And there was nobody that I had to talk about these things with really until about I was 23, 24. So long story short, I went through the typical college, went to UNL, got a degree in advertising, public relations, became a photographer there, moved to Omaha in 2018, dove into the networking stuff, especially after I worked at Yahoo for a year and a half, and then took my business full time. So 2020 is really kind of, for me, when a lot of started coming together. Some psilocybin experiences, some different psychedelics definitely contributed to me understanding and feeling things in a different way. Then I found the Law of One. And the Law of One for me was pivotal because for a long story short, it's a series of books and channelings that came to Earth and through MIT professors back in like 1981 and 1983. And they channeled what was called the Law of One. What that helped put together was, what's the convergence of all these different religions on Earth? Why are we here? What are we doing here? What's the the mission of being here. How does this relate to the rest of the universe? And the law of one, from my understanding, is known kind of universe wide. And that a lot of human bearing planets, we're getting into some deep stuff, but human bearing planets also are fully aware of this. And it had not yet been translated really to Earth, but Jesus came down and he shared his message that it was aligned with this. I think Buddha did. I think Muhammad did. I think a lot of different people throughout time. Um, and when I first like realized that and started putting the puzzle pieces together of there's densities to consciousness, there's dimensions to this all. Densities and dimensions aren't completely interchangeable, but they're close. And all of life is aware. All of life is conscious. And we're on a spiritual evolution for eternity. And here on earth, we're going through our own but massive spiritual awakening and spiritual kind of coming to understanding oneness. And this bridges into prophecies that have come about and things like that. But for me, it was like May 2020 was when I had a pretty profound experience where it all kind of came sense and created an epiphany for me. Kundalini awakening, I think is what it was. And then I wanted to tell my friends about it. I would go to networking groups and like, if it would venture into some fun stuff, I wanted to know what are their thoughts on all this. And I started to realize throughout the next few years, that not a whole lot of people were super interested or had thought about deeper things like this. And
But there's becoming more and more
yes,
every day, I feel like.
yes. And started to realize that there was different people that I'd meet that were super, love this stuff too. Wanted to have friends to talk about this stuff with, but didn't know many people or if any people in their sphere. Sam was one of those people that I met. And like I said, a little bit over a year and a half ago. And we really vibed on all this, and we both had our kind of tribes, and like, oh, let's vibe and talk about cool stuff like this. And we'd meet others that were kind of disconnected. Sam and I kind of looked at each other in many conversations later. We're like, we're pretty dang equipped to build a group like this and bring our spiritual homies and our not so spiritual homies. You don't have to be spiritual to join Manifest Omaha. If you're interested in personal development, mindset, psychology, making lots of money, making lots of impact. That's what we want to be a bridge for all different types of ideas
You've
and people
even
like that.
had events that were about marketing.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, definitely.
What's
your story?
Oh,
Sam? How did all this
How do I
come to
top
be?
that? How do I top that? I feel like I've always fit into different groups, but not quite fits. Like I explained this last night. There are, those little boxes or squares the kids play with, and there's a bunch of different shapes around it, and you're a circle. Like I'm a circle. You can drop me through a bunch of them, but I don't quite fit perfectly in one of them. So it's like I would bounce around through high school and then in through the corporate world, and nobody really kind of fit snugly. I couldn't really truly be myself. And like I was a receptionist at a paint supply company for 5 or 6 years, and it was great, but I was like, I always wanted more. Everybody around me just didn't want to like seek out more information or like be more or do more or like push the boundaries and things. And I'm always pushing the boundaries. So I don't know, it just kind of stemmed from being in like the corporate world and then pushing those boundaries of like, while I was working as a receptionist, he got so in depth. I was not ready to tell my whole story. Yeah, that's okay. I don't know, just it kind of came from just not knowing exactly where I fit in. And then I started attending these music festivals and traveling more and just getting to know, like, whenever I attended this music festival called Electric Forest back in 2018, I really found woke up and did yoga, and I sat until 4 a.m. just talking to people about things that I actually wanted to talk about. And it necessarily wasn't, like Kundalini awakenings and spiritual, like going on trips, like mushroom trips and all that stuff. It was just like these people were like holding space for me in a way that I really needed that, in a way that I grew up and didn't have that. So I kind of just, and then after I attended these festivals years after years after years, and we had this one group of friends that we like continue, like we met that first day at Electric Forest, and they're still our really good friends. I just wanted to continue to surround myself by people that didn't, I don't know, make me feel like I was wasting energy. I wanted to be around people that made me feel like I was at home. So, and then that's why we made Manifest, was because we're not wasting energy. We're creating an abundance of love. So, does that make more sense?
I love that. You're creating an abundance of love. I love that you said more, like you were around people that didn't seem to want more and you did. That's one thing I say all the time. When you start feeling the call, there's this thing that says there has to be more.
Yeah.
There has to be more to life than just being a secretary at a paint company and going home and watching Netflix all night.
Yeah. And
right?
I think that's cool, but
yeah, no judgment.
No judgment. I think that's cool, but I have a TV and I don't know if I have turned like we want like I don't know why I even have a TV. It's just like I'm always doing something or planning a next trip or like people say I'm addicted to TikTok. I am, but I'm sitting there scrolling like, okay, I'm going to Boston in a couple weeks. Like, where are the best like hikes that I can go to? Like, it's great information. It feels like I'm doing research and it's like the quickest way possible because I believe in like the abundance of things. I believe that a lot of people, and Kaleb and I talk about this all the time, live in like a scarcity mindset of like, there's not enough money, there's not enough love, there's not enough capacity. There's all of like, take up space, go do things, be people, like connect with others that like want you in the room because they're out there. Manifest was born because we needed a connector to them all, like a platform to connect everybody through. So that's the ticket.
Yeah, thanks. I feel like that's what you guys have done is create a space, a community for people to take up space and be whoever they are.
Yeah.
And like you said, create an abundance of love. When you can take up space and be absolutely whoever you are, love comes.
Yeah.
It comes out at that.
100%. And to the idea of like creating an abundance of love, I don't think that we're creating that abundance of love. We're allowing for that love that permeates everything, that abundance that is everywhere. We're
giving it space to take.
We're facilitating a space for that to grow more. And in our own minds, we're planting seeds in other people's minds, and they're planting seeds in our minds that, hey, this can be so much bigger than what we're currently experiencing. So that, just a little point on that I think it's all everywhere. We live in this abundance, but our minds will put us into this constricted scarcity mindset.
Yeah,
totally. So it's been a lifelong thing where I'm trying to get over that, and I feel like I'm getting much better, especially as I'm meeting more people in the space. But yeah,
I want to touch on that. There's this fear that people want things, but they think that money is the only way that they can get these things. And my drive for a lot of this is like I taught a workshop on bartering and how to do energy exchange. So it's a little bit I teach like trade. If you can't afford something, then trade what you're good at. So, I'm really good at photography or, I can do SEO work or write blogs. I'm a great writer. So if I can provide those things that I know that you need them, let's trade. There's a bunch, there's other things than money to do these things. So while people are like wanting to be ballers and be rich and like be famous and all of these things, I just like, you can do that. You can do that with your cell phone. You can become an influencer and talk about your journey. I mean, there are ways to reach whatever your goals are, but knowing those, like what's driving your desires, why are you actually wanting these things?
I love that you brought that up because one thing that's come through for me a lot in the past year is because I used to be driven completely by money. I was in real estate. I used to dream about how much money I was making from my commissions. Yeah. Like it was consuming. And this year has been a lot about that for me. Like, what is the point of being obsessed with money? The point for me is to create the life that I want to live, to have an abundance so I can travel. I can do things with my kids. I have time freedom. Why do I need more money than that? And then even further, like you said, you can get some of those things without it having to be money. I personally believe that we're in such a pivotal time in the world. A lot of systems are going to fall. the way we do real estate, insurance, government, like a lot of things are going to fall. And I think including money, I think we're going to reinvent the way that we live in community with others. And it's not going to have so much to do with money.
I don't think
anymore.
it is. And I like if I do go on a trip or something, I'm the first one to start reaching out to everything that I want to do and say, hey, can I go on your whale watching tour and take pictures of your boat for a discounted ticket? And they almost always say, oh my gosh, I need photos so bad. Go check out my Instagram. And I'm like, they're like, take, like, come on the tour, come with us, like, come early, stay late, and snap a couple pictures, and they're like grateful for the opportunity.
Wow.
So it's just, and Airbnbs, yeah, I don't know, I get excited about trading. It's so much fun. We don't have to rail on it.
So talk to me about manifest. I think that's an intentional word.
Yeah.
But where did that come from?
Yeah, so for me, like I'm a big branding guy, branding, marketing, and then how do you get this message out to the world and how do you make it appealing? So like the big thing is the name for this group. So we had the idea pretty immediately, like, oh, I wish that we had a group to go and talk to people about spiritual stuff and esoteric stuff and also making money and making impact and things like that. So like that came together pretty fast for us. But what is the name for it? And I'll credit my Uncle Andy. I was at Christmas in Humboldt, Nebraska. I get half my family's farmers down in Humboldt, Nebraska. And we were hanging out and I'm getting riveted and excited about like what this idea could be. And this is the next thing that I want to help launch. And he was patiently listening. And then he was like, I had a friend and he was in Austin that started a group called Manifest. And it was Manifest barbecues. And he would bring, it was supposed to, mostly tech people. So he'd bring in his friends in the tech and the startup world, and they would have these barbecues in the backyard where it's just free and people would come and hang out. And I don't know if it's free, but cheap. And you get people to come and hang out, and it was a select group of people, and then see what kind of conversation stuff would happen from there. And then there would be another startup that would happen. There would be more pop-ups, there'd be more events and things like that. And I've been to many of those where I've also experienced the great ones and I've experienced the not so great ones. Facilitating that vibe throughout there and being intentional with connections and intentionally curating an experience like that can really go a long ways to allowing for people to mesh and meld in a good way. So that's where the name Manifest came from. And I remember when he said it and I thought about it and I was like, oh my God, Andy, that's the name of the group, Manifest. And I was like, okay, it needs to be local. Manifest Omaha. Because it can't just be Manifest. I think we want to build that brand larger than just Omaha. But Manifest Omaha. Perfect. Rolls off the tongue. We're not too on the woo-woo side because we don't want to turn a lot of people off. We talked about woo-woo walkers. That was probably the worst name of 5. Omaha Spirituality.
They were so bad.
Yeah.
The names were bad.
Yeah. Omaha Spirituality Group. Boring.
Yeah.
Hope there's not one that exists. I'm sorry if there is.
Wookiee one.
There was no Wookiee ones that
there
we
are
had
a bunch
on
of
the short list. On the short list. But
yeah.
Manifest was like perfectly that. What manifesting means is to take a thought into reality. We're doing it all the time. Well, all 3 of us are doing it right now is we're taking thoughts from the ether, vibrating our vocal cords to each other and bringing these thoughts and ideas out to the world. That's what manifesting is. We do it all the time. Let's connect that to we're all taking thoughts into reality, whether it's that home that you bought and you sold it and you're a real estate person and you're calling that person, you're facilitating this trade, whether you're a photographer and you have a vision for what you want to capture, what you want to create, you're manifesting those images, you're manifesting that video, or manifesting this podcast. So it's a word that's so larger than, anything woo-woo or not. Let's bring more attention to that and let's become intentional about what we're actually manifesting.
What's the greatest thing that you've manifested from having this group?
Ooh,
Whether it's yours or
I have no
collective
idea.
or someone else's that you've seen happen.
I think if I'm being honest, I think it's like, oh, that makes me emotional. I think it would be my mom and like her happiness. We grew up in my dad struggled with addiction and alcohol abuse, and my mom did everything that she could to just get my family through it. And while she was working at a hospice care company, Caleb came into my life, and then my mom's always been trying to here are these cool things, these cool rocks that I got you, and like all of these great things, but like I never took interest in it because it just we didn't have that relationship growing up with having such a dynamic home life, to say the least. But whenever him and I started like hanging out, and then I would be like, "Hey, well, Caleb was talking about this," and she'd be like, "Yeah, I've tried to tell you about that," and I was like, well, I get it whenever he talks about it. You know, it's your mom, you're a teenager, you don't want to listen, or like I'm in college, it's like rebelling. But like her and I have really connected now as like mom and daughter, and like she's really jazzed to like she had like a conversation with me, and she's like, now that you're old enough, I can talk to you about you're actually a druid. And I'm like, like the alien. I was like, okay. So, but like, it's just like the relationship that I've built with her, but also like the progress that she's made from the group. She's an independent contractor. She just got an LLC. She's made a ton of connections. She's in 6 different. She like has an apothecary. She grows her own medicinal plants and like makes all of these, we call them potions, and she sells them. She's in hospital systems, and she still does death doulaing on the side, but like she's so happy. She's flexible with her schedule. She's not in like this hellhole my dad put us in, and she's finally like in her own safe space. She's kind of, people in our group call her Mama Manifest, and like everybody's just kind of, they love her. She's great, but like that's really what makes me happiest from the group. So
I love that. I'm going to come back to you on that. One thing that you said with your mom
Yeah.
is that she has stepped into like her own business. So
Yeah.
she's like stepped into her
Yeah.
power and found her confidence because of this group.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I have noticed in the amount of, small amount of time I've gotten to be around your group is that even for me, it's allowed me to step into my confidence and go, people really want this. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I know that you've done that for so many other people with this group.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
I think that it's because and I say it at every meeting, and I don't care how annoying I get with it, but like I want a safe space, just like the safe space that Danny and Kyle and Kathleen, all my little electric force friends that I met, and like they taught me how to hold space and like really get on eye level with each other on things. I want people to feel safe, like they can be their little weirdo selves, like they're really passionate about. There's a quote that says like your favorite version of yourself is probably the most cringy version. I'm like, kind of. Yeah, I want to hold that space for people to, bring their ideas and their passions and really explore them. And I don't care if you're throwing up or screaming during sound baths, that's what we want and encourage. So
yeah.
What do you got?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. What's the greatest thing that you've manifested or witnessed manifested?
There's a lot. Like, and I'm still trying to wrap my mind around what Manifest Omaha is and what it's already kind of grown into. This might not be my favorite, but it's one that's came to mind because it was just so recent. So we did a podcast about a month ago on the top of elevator spaces. Really cool rooftop downtown. We came up with the idea of, we should do a Manifest Omaha event up there. Sam got in touch with our friend Ryan, who's a TikTok influencer here in town, asked him if he'd like to lead this video, intro to video workshop for us. A month later, we had a sweet Manifest Omaha experience workshop up on the rooftop. We had our friend Stephen Gunner with Barn Girls Farms bring in a just stunning charcuterie tray, and then had a really impactful, let's dive into all of it. Let's give all the secret sauce. And we had like 35, 40 people there, and it was awesome. And it was so cool to see, here's an idea, bring it into reality. So that's a recent favorite. We've been doing these monthly workshop socials since February. Each one's been awesome. I've got favorites in there, but like all of them have just been so cool to see all these people come together. And at each one of them, there's at least 3 people that will come up to either one of us and say, hey, I've been lonely. I don't have people to talk about this stuff with. I didn't know anything like this existed. I've got a friend or two, or I've got an hour a week that I can spend for myself, or whatever it may be.
And I'm here.
Yeah, and they made it here, and they met a bunch of new friends and people and acquaintances and people they can actually connect with on a deeper level. That to me is the coolest thing. And there's been like several different friend groups that have popped off, and like now that's their close friend group because they came to the March Manifest Omaha event and met each other, and were able to like dive into deep, vulnerable, authentic conversation with each other, which they haven't gotten really anywhere else in their adult life, and we're able to facilitate that. Sam and I are really good at facilitating that intentional, vulnerable self, and be super silly, and be have big ass dreams, be very ambitious, and be weird. Like we're just naturally those people, and so it just kind of worked out really well to where when people come and they're like, what is this? What does this have to do with it? I came across it on Facebook, but like I didn't know what to expect. We're like, just wait, we don't really know what to expect.
That's the secret.
We're weird and spontaneous, and like, but if we can have this core mission of bringing people together on all different sides, whatever way, shape, or form, and tilt it towards this love of life, this love of God, spirituality, the universe, however you want to call it. Let's tilt this way, tilt towards growth, maybe even max out our tilt towards growth, and be able to fully recognize each other in that way. And when I say that, I always think of like other side of the coin, right? So we can have this big growth-minded, ambitious thoughts and things we want to do with each other, and we accept that and we want that. I'm really on that side. The other side, what's the darkness? What's the depths that we've all experienced? A lot of people have lost people recently. My mom, I lost her 5 years ago with an accidental overdose from prescription medications. She accidentally took too many. And like here, she trusted her doctors. And they put her on all these different blood thickeners, blood thinners, antidepressant, bipolar, everything across the board. She accidentally took too many. And like lost her on a Saturday morning. And so like everybody's got their own stories of loss, and like it could be loss of a personal loved one, it could be loss of a business, it could be your relationship with your husband isn't going great, your relationship with your kids isn't awesome, you feel lonely at home, you don't have enough money in the bank account to feel good. There's a lot of different issues there too that we can be on both sides. We can provide that whole spectrum of experience and connection. Back to your first question, what's the greatest thing that I've been able to see from Manifest, that we've manifested? It's this community that exists on Facebook and in person, and all the auxiliary places and events that people are doing, and being able to see those. I'm like, wow, this was an idea that we had that we knew was going to pop off, but wow, is it cool to see and feel it pop off the way it is, and have this community driven group that one more thing. I get so excited about what's coming next, what we can do with this, the website that we're just about done with, the directory that we're going to have on there for people of all different kinds, to be able to find people local to Omaha, around, whether it's spiritual gifts, whether it's a realtor, an insurance person, a photographer, whatever it may be. Yes, you can go on Facebook, you can go on Google, you can go on ChatGPT, la-di-da, but let's have something internally for all of our best people, regardless if you're our best people, for all of our people to have, on there and be able to find each other. A Manifestival is another one. We can get that if we want, but like DJs, music, dancing, Daybreaker is a great, this is actually the next thing that I think we're going to manifest. Daybreaker is a group that I personally got a lot of inspiration from. They do sunrise yoga and dance sessions, completely sober. They got elixirs and stuff, and they have just the most fun things. They've been doing it in Austin, New York, LA, big cities. They're coming to Omaha for the first time, October 18th.
Oh, nice.
So right after this, I want to shoot an Instagram message and find their email. Been sitting on this for a week, but now's the day to do it. And say, hey, would you guys be down to partner on this? We don't want any money, and it's a free event, but could we help on promotion of it? Could we do Manifest Omaha Daybreakers event? And I think it's Thursday, October 13th in the morning, something like that.
Get on that.
I love it.
I know.
I've seen them, and I want to do that for my upcoming 50th birthday. Like, this is exactly what I
meet you
need.
there.
Yeah. A dance party with no alcohol, and it's not too late, so you can go to bed.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
100%.
exactly.
That's awesome. So I think with what you have shown is that there are so many people out there that are yearning for this type of connection. Business people, I love that you said it's like the spectrum, because you can have big dreams and be driven and learn about marketing and whatever you want to do there, but then also we're going to connect. Like, we want to know who you are outside of work. In the past, things were separated.
Yeah.
You go to networking You just tell them about your business. Hi, Sam. What do you do? This is what I do,
Yeah.
right? And inside, how many people were dying because they're so lonely? And people are ready for that.
Yeah.
You know? Did you?
And whenever you say like, when he says business, it might be a little bit different to like what I'm doing in business. It's like my business and on earth is like I don't know if I can kind of rephrase that. Like, yes, entrepreneurs and business people and realtors and like everybody like that. 100%. We do host a lot of like workshops and stuff for personal branding and things like that. But I think more I focus on like the healer side of things and like people's personal business on like on earth.
Yeah.
So like what are your passions? Like how can we propel those? So like you can, yes, like Ryan's an influencer and that's his job, but like if you didn't have a job and your passion was just to spread a message of I don't know, whatever it may be, you can pick up your phone and share those. So I don't want to exclude anybody that doesn't have their own business or in business. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Okay.
That was going to be my next
that make sense?
question.
Okay.
Is who is this for? And then also, alternatively, who is this not for?
Ooh, great question. I want to start out with who. Now let's start out with who's it for. Who's it not for? I can't think of anybody this isn't for. If you're closed-minded, if you're very rigid in your ways of thinking, and you don't want new friends, don't come to a Manifest Omaha.
We got a list.
If you don't, no, we don't. If you don't want to learn more about yourself, about how you can be a better human, if you're not interested in that, if you genuinely enjoy evil, if there's evil people that exist out there, I had to come around to realizing that. If you are a narcissist, well, come on in. We'll accept narcissists. But if you're genuinely evil, if you want to see the worst in humanity, not the place for you.
I think
you won't find that here. Everything's for the most part good vibes. Yes, we're gonna dive into some shadow stuff, but like if you don't like people and you don't want to get to know people or learn more about the universe and how you can be a better human, just stay home. Don't come to our events.
it comes down to like closed-minded and open-minded. We have ran across several people that, like, hey, I think, you've just spent the last, 3 days texting me about your, your loss in your life and your, maybe they lost. I'm going through a situation where I have several friends that they're going through stuff and they want to kind of like work through the motions and text and just complain and complain and complain. And I'm like, do you want a solution or do you want me just to comfort you? And it's very closed minded. Okay, well, I'm doing this. Like, I can send you resources to this, that. And it's just always like, okay. And the conversation gets dropped. So maybe if you're not open minded to a solution to something, does that make sense? Yeah. It's just like the
sometimes people aren't. Sometimes
and
people
that's okay.
need to be in the space that they're in and they're not ready yet.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like, that's fine. We want good vibes here and we want people, it feels like whenever people, you can tell whenever somebody comes to an event and they're judgmental on, people talking too much about their feelings or their space but like we want them to come back and experience more, but we just wish that judgment would kind of lessen over time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Everybody's
Absolutely.
welcome, but if you do find yourself kind of in that negative headspace.
Because you just started this group this year, the beginning of 2024, right?
Yeah.
Just rough idea, how many people are part of your group?
We have 2,500 right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
2,500 in less than a year, because we're recording this in September.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So a lot of my audience aren't in Omaha. What if they want something like this? Should they connect with you? Can you help them start a group like this somewhere else? Do you have a vision of starting them in other cities?
Yeah, absolutely. Like he was saying whenever he was giving the spiel on Manifest Omaha, we would love to see it change into Manifest Austin, Manifest,
St. Pete.
St. Pete, Manifest whatever, while we're working on our website and our directory and stuff and like making all of these connections, all these ideas continue to build. I don't think that we're ready to like say, hey, we've got all of our shit together. Why don't you copy and paste it in Austin?
Mhm.
We would love for people to start branching out and doing ideas, but we don't have anything to copy and paste. We just want people to start exploring. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I mean, do we need an SOP to launch something like this? Do other people need it? If Dave from Austin's like, hey, this is a great idea, I want to start this here. We don't need to have a copy and
No.
paste SOP. I think with a good conversation and a little bit of help with how did we blow this up so quick? How do we go about planning our events? How do we advertise them? How have we built an email newsletter? Things like that. All things that we're figuring out as we
Yeah.
go and have figured out. Um, we want to see this go nationwide.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And I think that it has the potential and it's going to. Um, now, what, now you get into the legality and the ownership of Manifest name. We don't own that name. Would we like to? I think it's probably the best move for us to
Yeah.
own that name so that we can build something that's cohesive around the nation. Not for like making money, although it'd be nice to make some money from this someday, but that's not at all our goal right now. It's to build more of this community. So if Brenda from Nashville's like, hey, I think I'm well equipped to start this group. Could we start a Manifest Nashville? I don't know what it looks like to start that off because there is a level of intentionality around who should be the ones leading it within a city. And I don't know who's the most plugged in or who would be a great person to do it here or who's got, a lot of beef with this community. And if Brenda starts it, she's going to turn off a lot of those people. There's a lot of dynamics like that exist,
Yeah.
I'm sure not everybody likes Caleb and Sam. But like that doesn't necessarily matter. But we should be intentional about who leads it. So I guess for us, it's getting more plugged into those groups. As Sam loves to travel, as I love to travel
Yeah.
too. I have a feeling that this is going to blast off bigger than Omaha, and probably pretty soon.
I think you're starting a movement.
Yeah.
I feel like you're starting.
I've got a friend that DJs in Cabo right now, and he's already we're planning a retreat down there, and he's like, I want to do Manifest St. Lucia and like all of these
Nice.
other like let's do a retreat here, let's do that, let's bring Manifest. Like most of my friends are outside of Omaha, and they're like, well, I want to do that because I've met them at this one place. I think it could get really big. I wish that we could. If you're out there and you want to invest in us, please let us know because it's free time.
And how do people connect with you?
You can go to hello@manifestomaha.com or shoot us a message on any of our platforms, our Facebook group or our Instagram or our website. So our contact form should be up next week.
And yeah, Instagram at Manifest Omaha. Facebook group, you just look up Manifest Omaha, you're gonna find us. And then yeah, I'm Caleb. That's Sam. Our emails are pretty findable. You can find us on there too.
Yeah.
But join the Facebook group, follow us on Instagram. We love to follow people back. We love to reshare content. We love to promote really cool stuff that's going on. We're going to start doing spotlights as well as upcoming events, recaps of events, spotlights on awesome people like yourself that are doing great things in the community. And like, this would be so cool to advertise Jeri, and what is all the cool stuff that she's doing. And the stuff that you've posted in there and outside, like get to know you a little bit. I think that'd be really cool. Well, I'm interested, Jeri, because you're great. I don't know you super well, but you seem like you have your wits together when it comes to business and the spiritual side. And you've embodied this, and you are embodying it, and you take it with you where you go, and you do a fantastic job of it.
Thank you.
How do you think that the best way for us to grow this group, as we're this conversation we're having about it's going to other places, what would you recommend?
Oh, put me on the spot
I know.
here. Well, I mean, I think originally, organically, I think people will reach out to you. And then if it's going to be connected with your brand, really getting to know that person. And it might require, a trip there to meet them and kind of see their community and like what's their heart, what's the rest of their outreach look like, what's their social media, who are they as a person, and then having like build out your systems. This is what you start with, this is how we do it. And also I would have people pay a little bit of upfront, like some sort of money up front, and you give them the systems, because the easier that you can make it, the easier it is going to be for somebody to start it. Maybe the less invested they'll be, depending on who they are and what are their goals and intentions,
Yeah.
However, I would do something like that. And then if it's like ongoing support, you get a portion of the income. There's plenty of communities that have grown like that. As a realtor, the REIA, REIA, Real Estate Investors Association, there's a national one, and then there's hundreds across the country, and they're all individually owned, but they all have connection to the top one. And so they have autonomy and support. And I would encourage you to research that organization
Yeah.
and kind of follow a similar model, probably.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Can I ask you another question?
Absolutely.
When you came across Manifest Omaha and you didn't really know what it was about, what intrigued you? Why did you join? And what has your experience been like? Both could be the good side,
Yeah.
but also open to the bad side.
So, well, the bad part for me is that I don't live in Omaha all the time, so I miss a lot of your events. I was initially intrigued because I know Sam, and so that's what got me started, even looking at the Facebook page, for example. And then I just I loved seeing what people were doing in Omaha and what they're offering to the community, and that was very inspiring to me because I'm pivoting from all business to more spirituality and working on embodying them. And there's people of all different levels in the group, and so that was inspiring to me. I was able to attend one event and I really loved it. I wish it would have started on time, but that's a little bit with the flow. I had to leave early because I had something planned afterwards. Um, but I have got to meet several of the members through interviewing them for the podcast, especially, and they're powerful and, just wonderful, giving, passionate people. And that has really inspired me because when I first started my spiritual journey in 21, so almost 4 years ago, I had felt this calling like, okay, I'm supposed to be in Omaha for a reason. I'm supposed to start talking about this stuff. And I would have lunch with somebody and I would say, so I just did psilocybin, and they'd be like, what is that? And we'd have this conversation like, oh my gosh, I am so interested in that, but I can't tell anyone. I can't have this conversation with anyone. And finally, after like a while, I was like, well, you're the 20th person that has said that, so that's not true.
Right.
Like there's at least 20 other people out there that want to talk about this. And so when you guys started the group, I was like, right on, because you're finding those people that want to talk about other things who also have a regular life and are regular people. They just also want more. Like we talked about in the beginning, they want depth, they want more, they want support, they want to be able to have conversations with other real people and not feel like they're going to be judged.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I have two questions. I'm going to turn it back around on you now.
Okay.
I have two questions for all of my guests before we go. And the first one, and I want each of you to answer. The first one is, what is one book that you recommend all of our listeners read?
I wish I was more of a reader.
You mentioned a good one in the beginning.
Which one did I mention?
The Law of One.
Law of One. I've read a lot of excerpts. I've listened to dozens of hours of YouTube videos. I would recommend Aaron Apke. He's one of the best people that I've found within explaining these deeper concepts in a beautiful way. I'm an audio-visual guy. I don't have the attention span to read a lot of the time. I tell myself. The Alchemist, maybe the last book that I read for the full thing. I couldn't put it down. Alchemist is fantastic. The Law of One's epic and awesome. I mean, like beyond words. You're gonna read it.
Life changing.
It's life changing. Like our DNA is light receptors. We're literally actively coding our DNA based off photosynthesis that's happening with our skin and our thoughts and actions. We're constantly coding hundreds of thousands of strands of our DNA daily.
Yeah.
Okay, that's crazy. But and it's not like a crazy concept. But then when you think about it, and when somebody can explain the science behind it, oh, that makes sense. Like we are constantly taking things from our environment and from the sun and from talking. It's all light and sound, just energy. And we're able to transmit that and it helps on our eternal evolution, our
Yeah.
spiritual evolution. So like literally as we increase our vibration, as we experience more things, more thoughts, more actions, more experiences, we're actively coding that and we are ascending. We're leveling up as humans all the times that we do that, and we're spiraling upwards. Boom!
I
You
love
know?
how passionate you are about it, Caleb. We're gonna have to do one of those under the stars until 4 a.m. and
I would love to, because like I think I had so many thoughts in this brain that just go all the time, and I
Yeah.
rarely get the time to talk about it with other people. Um, so yeah, I would recommend the Law of One. I'm gonna recommend podcasts because I'm more of a podcast guy. Aaron Abke, his YouTube videos, phenomenal. The Aubrey Marcus podcast.
Mhm.
Listen to him and Matthias DeStefano. Robert Edward Grant. You
Yeah.
know what I'm talking
All of them,
about? All of them.
yeah.
They're fantastic. Robert Edward
Mhm.
Grant, a physicist, inventor, mathematician. He came around to spirituality a few years ago. Nobody's laid on the ball with this. We're all awakening at the time that we should. But he very hardcore in the science realm, and then shifted and now is experiencing like Egypt activations in Egypt's in the pyramids where beings are literally, this is a very science-minded guy, are appearing in reality
Yeah.
and they're sharing messages. And he's putting his hand on the pyramid and all of a sudden he's getting downloads from these pyramids, aka healing chambers, ascension chambers that were used way back when. Matthias DeStefano remembers every one of his past lives,
Mhm.
and he remembers Atlantis times and Lemurian times, Egyptian times. He's been around a lot of different places and a lot of times. This is not the first time that humanity's gotten to this point of advanced spiritual and technological advancement.
Yeah.
And we're at it again, and I think that we're actually going to figure it out this time and join our interstellar family. And I don't know what we'll have another podcast another time about it.
Let's do it.
But yeah, I would recommend those.
Sam, what's your book?
I'd recommend The Law of Attachment. I talk a lot about love languages. So that's one of the first questions I ask somebody whenever I meet them, very awkwardly.
What's your love language?
Yeah, what's your love language? Like, how do you love to
Quality time.
Quality time, yeah. Mine's physical touch and words of affirmation. So I just like to know how to interact with people. Sometimes I don't always pick up on social cues. So sometimes it's like, if I get really excited, I'm like hugging and touching and it's like, oh, I like to know my boundaries first. So if I'm friends with somebody, it's not like I'm at Center Sphere meetings like, what's your love like? It's not like that. But like, I know, I digress a little bit.
I want to say too, we're shitting on Center Sphere a good amount.
Sorry about it.
It's a good squad.
It's a
We're
good
both still
squad.
part of it. It's a good squad.
Yeah,
Yep.
It is.
Yeah, it's a great. Sorry, it's just top of mind. My
You're
bad.
fine.
My bad.
It's okay.
My last question for
Yeah.
both of you. What is one thing that you wish everyone in the world knew? Sam, do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, that they're not alone. I wish everybody knew that they weren't alone, and that was my big why of starting Manifest. I think I just have known and sat with my own journey through suicide, and I've had several people very, like father, ex-boyfriends commit suicide, and I just wish, and really close friends commit suicide, and I feel like if they would have had some of the healing modalities within our group, Reiki or just different, if their physical touch was their love language, maybe they just got a massage and maybe they just needed somebody to feel, maybe they just need to feel love and abundance of, appreciation and gratefulness for their existence, that we could change the world a little bit. So you're not alone. You just help us find you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Reach out.
What about you?
A couple come to mind. The first one, everything and everyone is divine. And then if we go through life feeling and thinking that way, it will shift everything that we do and allow you to see the beauty in life that a lot of times goes unnoticed, and the beauty in each other that a lot of times goes unnoticed, and in ourselves. A lot of people don't know the beauty in themselves.
Yeah.
They're not asked the right questions by their friends or by the people around them. What makes them special? What are you really good at? What do you love to talk about? Things like that. So I think that's really important. Everything and everyone's divine. Also, our thoughts create reality. Our thoughts and our vibe, that's what we're going to see in the external world. And we're able to shift that internally of what that state of being that I'm in, what experiences or what vibrations, emotions are literally vibrations. What are you experiencing in the moment? Are you in despair? Are you in shame? Are you in guilt? That's going to have a really low vibe, and everything that you do is going to come from that vibe. If you can change your state internally from going on a walk, from going and working out, from talking to a loved one, from doing a breathwork meditation, from doing hape, different things like that, you can literally change the way that you feel. That's going to change the way that you work and respond and create in the world around us.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you guys. I don't have anything to say after that.
Yay.
Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
thank
much
you.
for having us on.
Appreciate it.
This is
Yeah.
awesome.
We're going to have you back to talk about these deeper concepts.
Heck yeah.
as well.
I'm more than happy to.
This is so
I've talked to
fun.
her
I gotta
too
work.
many times.
I gotta work that day. I gotta work.
You're like yawning.
Yeah. 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 Too many late nights of alien talk. Yeah.